Hey, it's Jimmy O here from Joe Blow, and I'm about to take a ride into the storm. So, okay, I've got to ask, I mean, you guys play people that are trapped in a storm, which is really terrifying, obviously. How close have you guys been? Have you ever been even near something like this?
You've got the closest story to that.
Yeah, not that close. As far as strictly tornadoes go, I have been, yeah, I don't know why you punted that over to me.
I just thought your bushfire story.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, so yeah, but as far as just tornadoes, I have had a warning siren go off, but it wasn't close enough that we actually had to do anything about it.
Okay.
I think the closest disaster I had was a wildfire living up right near the foothills here. There was one fire that got really close to my community, and they basically came through and said, pack up some stuff just in case, because you might have to evacuate in the morning. Unfortunately, they were able to fight it back, and it didn't get any closer, but that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
How do you go into this film and make it real, and knowing all this is special effects, knowing so much of it? How did the director help you with that, and how did you find that as an actor?
Well, you know, it was so cool because going into it, a film of this scale, you know, and working with Steve, who is a real master of the technical kind of arts, the VFX and everything on that side of it. You know, I expected a lot more green screen and kind of a lot more imagination, and there was elements of that, but really we arrived and they wanted us to experience as much of it as we could. So everything that could be done practically was. Yeah. So we were, you know, wind, rain, all those things,
debris, all
from kind of day one. Yeah. Which made, you know, your performance easier because you were really experiencing what your character was. Yeah. And under those circumstances, and it did get, you know, obviously we were looked after, but it did get strenuous, and it did allow you to kind of no acting required because you're just trying to kind of get through it, which is all the characters are.
Be very in it.
Yeah.
So if you said line wrong, the director would hose him down.
We heard that. You have no idea how many times we heard that.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah, you know,
hose down the actors.
They'd come in, sometimes Steve would come in and be like, okay, in this scene you're uncomfortable. It's like, Steve, I am uncomfortable, I'm sweet.
Don't worry, Steve,
you don't have to tell me my motivation.
Yeah.
You know.
I got it.
What are your reactions? Because obviously there's been a lot of push for this film, and I don't think we've had a really cool disaster movie.
No, I mean, it's been 20 years since the last tornado film, really.
Yeah.
It was that, and since then technology has developed so much. And also, I think it's quite different from a lot of the other disaster films. You know, you see often not a lot of consequence. It's these huge explosions and crazy situations, but this I feel really, I mean, it's intimate with the storm, but it's also intimate with the characters, and that kind of very first-person perspective with elements of found footage, it really does bring you very close to how this affects the community and the individuals.
It's not just destruction for the sake of destruction.
Yeah.
There's a before the storm and during the storm, and what's different about it is there's also an after the storm. You see how it affects people after the fact, and I think that that's something that you don't really get a chance to see with these kinds of movies.
Yeah, it's so cool to be a part of something that is so obviously an old-fashioned kind of thrill ride of a disaster film that also focuses on the human aspect and the way this storm affects a community. Right. And you know, it's a completely original kind of property. It's just I've never seen anything quite like this, in which the audience is literally, it's kind of misleading to think of it as found footage because it's really just a first-person narrative, and you're kind of thrust directly into the eye of a tornado. Which isn't the way we've seen disaster films. Certainly, I've never seen anything like that. And particularly with the technology we have and the almost kind of photorealistic storms, I think it's a really special experience, and one best viewed kind of in a cinema
big screen.
with the sound and
awesome
everything.
sound systems.